is this? Hello and welcome, you beautiful people. So yeah, Onimai, I am now your sister. I was watching Revs Desi's videos on the Controversies, and yes, that is a plural Controversies, spurred on by Onimai, and eventually my curiosity, or rather my morbid curiosity, got the better of me and I ended up watching it. I'm kind of glad that I did, but at the same time I hate myself for doing so. You see, looking at the synopsis of Onimai, it sounds like a kind of fun, maybe a little pervy, sure, but still something that leans more toward the comedic side of things, type of an anime. Basically what it says on the tin is, boy has a sister, sister is big brain and makes super estrogen that turns brother into girl without him knowing. Cue hilariously awkward situations with a tinge of ecchi, or so I thought. In hindsight, the staggering amount of controversy should have been a massive red flag, but here we are nonetheless. What I was expecting was some high school boy turning into a high school girl kind of stuff, but what I got was, well, definitely not that. So then what did I get right and what did I get wrong reading the synopsis? Well, sister is indeed big brain and does invent super estrogen, but the brother I was expecting to be a teen turned out to be a 20-something full-grown neat of a man who is perverted to the core and addicted to eroges. Okay, questionable, but still not terrible. But wait, for there is more. The female body he ends up with is that of a preteen middle schooler. Yes, I know he isn't technically a preteen, but that is what he ends up looking like, so that's what I'm going with. And the hint of pervy is pretty much full-blown ecchi, at least from time to time, and I'm sure you've by now gathered where this is going. It's kind of like watching a train wreck happen in slow motion while also laughing at a raunchy stand-up comedy show. But before I go forward, I'd like to make one thing clear. Despite what a surprising number of people on the internet would have you believe, what Onimai contains is, in most countries, completely legal. These are drawings that are in no way mistakable for real people, and the show is a work of fiction, no matter how morally wrong it may be. If you haven't gathered already, the lolicon/shorticon stuff really is not my cup of tea. To a point where Onimai I Am Now Your Sister was one of those incredibly rare shows that made me feel genuinely uncomfortable, which is something even redo of a healer didn't manage to achieve. It was just disgusting, but it lacked that profound sense of wrongness I felt while watching Onimai. But enough of this, there is only so much outrage one can muster at a single aspect of a show, and it isn't like any anime is that one-dimensional anyway. And as such, yes, even Onimai has more than one thing going for it, and the thing I've so far mostly ignored is actually the main aspect of the whole thing, and that is the comedy, which I mentioned previously having hoped for from the show, and honestly it is exactly what you'd expect. It's that thing of doing stuff like a boy or a man would until realizing at the very last moment that you done goofed, combined with the awkwardness of teaching the things that are different in a girl's life to a boy, and the comedy is honestly great, and the moments that don't include a preteen girl's backside on the screen are genuinely enjoyable. Hell, even some of the more sexually tinged comedy segments can be really funny. The comedy feels natural, and the way each episode is segmented into shorter stories works really damn well, with each story having a theme of its own, all the way from teaching Mahiro hair care to going out with friends or just having a Halloween party. It's witty, funny, and sometimes even wholesome. And then they shove Mahiro in the shower or trying on a swimsuit on your face, and the illusion of comedic slice of lifeiness is completely and utterly ruined. I mean, it isn't all just little girls, even if there is a lot of that. There are some older characters that kind of get the same treatment, but it still, at the end, ends up coming back to the middle schoolers, and while it wasn't as explicit as it could have been, given the main character's apparent perversion and eroge addiction, it's still plenty bad. That being said, and because somebody is going to bring it up anyway, Mahiro being an adult before his transformation doesn't excuse it, especially since it isn't just him, but actual middle school girls as well, that are sometimes included in these segments. Okay, that's the last I'll mention the age thing. Promise. It's not for me, but at the end of the day, it's still just drawings, and if it is your thing, I won't judge. One thing I will judge, however, is the anime, since that is kind of my job and the reason you're all watching. Besides the little girl's theme, there is one thing that irks me beyond reason, and that is the whole golden shower thing that seems to be going on. Because for some reason, I at least cannot fathom, other than it being a fetish thing, Mahiro ends up wetting himself twice in 6 episodes, and no matter how much they say never to judge a person based on their fetishes, this one weirds me out to a whole other level, and the show really could have done without it. But enough negativity. Let's talk visual appearance for a while, since it was something I actually really liked. Everything in Onimai is super cutesy pastel colored fluffiness, and it honestly looks great. I mean, it's a slice of lifestyle great look, don't go expecting Attack on Titan levels of graphical fidelity, think more Nichijou, that simple style that still works oh so perfectly with stuff like this. It isn't trying too hard, and it really doesn't need to. One thing I wasn't expecting is how a style like this works with the ecchi stuff, since as a general rule of thumb, cutesy ecchi really isn't a thing, and Onimai sort of follows that rule of thumb, but not quite. Every time something directly ecchi and not just suggestive happens, there is a very subtle change of style that most people, myself included, wouldn't even notice on the first time watching, and if they didn't specifically pay attention to it. It's honestly quite masterful. The style is still essentially the same, but the ecchi bits get more detail in a way that still looks cartoony, but less cutesy, and there is an odd effect of it being more realistic, for the lack of a better word. It is quite interesting, and at least off the top of my head, I can't think of any other show that does this with such a cutesy general appearance. I mean, adding detail to the money shots is a common strategy, but as I said, most ecchi just doesn't look like this to begin with, and honestly I think it's a pretty cool achievement by the animation team. Another thing Onimai does quite well is its cast of characters. The show is, among other things, marketed as cute girls doing cute things, and honestly that is reflected on its characters. Sure, they are nowhere near, say, Bocchi the Rock levels, but all the trademark features are there. They're all unique, funny, and fulfilling each other, and well, the cutesy art style speaks for itself in the character design department, even if the style makes even the older characters look incredibly young, but then again, given the overarching theme, that too is to be expected. But in the start I mentioned that Onimai has spurred many a controversy, and as such I'd like to have a quick word on those controversies, but just a quick one, since honestly the show has managed to spark a controversy on almost every episode, and even before it ever aired. And the impressive thing is that every new controversy seems to stem from a different reason. We've had everything from people being upset that their headcanon of Mahiro being trans wasn't the actual canon, all the way to the show showing Bridget, a controversial character from Guilty Gear, for all of a half a second, to what you'd expect with the lolicon stuff, back to trans representation, to localizers changing things to fit their own agenda rather than doing their goddamn job. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that Onimai is the most controversial anime of the year, and will most likely remain so for quite a while, even if a lot of those controversies aren't directly linked with the show's contents per se. But I have said a lot of negatives about Onimai, and well, so have other people, but is it actually a bad show? Well, no, not really, but I'm just really far removed from the target audience. Sure, I enjoy the occasional cultured anime, but Onimai just wasn't for me. It's a pretty neat show from a technical standpoint, it looks great and the characters are interesting, but I just couldn't shake the feeling of wrongness it gave me. It's honestly kind of a shame. Without the kiddie fiddly and piss fetishy themes, it could have been a universally great comedic slice of life ecchi show that might have made it one of those classics of the genre. But as things stand, Onimai's themes are just too divisive, and if it weren't for the controversies getting people talking about the show, chances are it would have fallen into oblivion with the masses as soon as it aired. Could've, should've, would've, didn't. But do let me know in the comments, what do you think of Onimai, I'm Now Your Sister? Is it something you look forward to, or are you one of those people outraged by any one of the myriad controversies surrounding the show? If you like this video, like it, dislike if you didn't, subscribe for more anime goodness, and check the links in the description if you want to engage with me outside of YouTube. With this, I have been Cheese, and I hope to see you next time. Ta-ta for now.